Well, I didn't expect to be up here, so that's a surprise to me.
Well, but we were out in the corridor talking about, we started talking about certification and, well, you were talking about yesterday, how much you like that. And I said, are you just, shoveling the positive reinforcement towards the old man to keep him in the harness and keep pulling the load, or what the hell? You said, and with your smooth ability to lie, you said, no.
I'm very well taught.
That's my editorial, interjection there. Well, I'm very, very pleased that you're pleased, because then who knows? This could be the beginning of a beautiful relationship. As was it Claude Rains? Yeah, saying to Humphrey Bogart as they walked off into the mist. Yeah. And that's what I said. I got a whole lot more to teach. Much, much more to. I remember I was thinking the first time I came over to Europe, I did a workshop at Saarbrücken. Uli Schachner came over to study with me, and then he said, I'll have you over to Europe. And I thought, yeah, when pigs fly, And but then he called me in February and said, about 2 months later, and said, okay, we got 2 of them set up, one in Saarbrücken and one in Munich. And anyway, in Munich, which was July 4th, when it was one of the days, this guy said, what do you want, et cetera, going around. It was a small group. And this guy says, I'm from Hamburg, and I'm come down here to steal everything you know. And yeah, he was an NLPer. I thank you. Is there a little cream in this?
Yeah, it has milk.
Yeah, wow. Jesus Christ. I like hot. This looks like soap suds. What do we call this?
Well, they said half and half is called miso over here.
Well, it looks like weak, dirty water with soap suds, but okay, I'll have it. Anyway, he says, yeah, I'm going to steal everything you've got, And I just burst out laughing. I said, Helmut, you think this is all there is, and stuff like that. But I guess this is a wrap-up, And you think this is all there is. I know there's an endless supply where this comes from. He looks blank. I thought, well, put that in your pipe and smoke it. There is an endless supply. Well, I don't know if I talked yesterday about spirit guides and blah, 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 but at any rate, this famous, ultra-famous psychic said, you have 7, and I was giving this, with Shelley Jordan, my trance conductor, was giving this, we did, so many people were asking us, can you teach us? So we organized this thing, and one of the things is we talked about reincarnation research and stuff, and then we talked about readings that I had done and was continuing to do, and then about spirit guides and stuff like this. And I said, well, this one famous psychic said that I had 7 spirit guides, and this social work gal, she was seated like there at the table, and she turns in a loud whisper, says, yeah, 5 to hold him down and 2 to scream in his ear. And I said, I heard that, and I'm going to just tell everybody I know, but I can't remember her name. But, yeah, then, well, anyway, then there's a schlock about spirit guides and stuff. But I used to hear it over in my left ear and over and behind here. This, it's our attempts to localize in space, time, and this type of thing. But now it's kind of center in the brain. But and then initially it sounds so dissociative and a little bit. nutsy whatsy to say it this way, but that's what it felt. So you hear somebody talking over in, the other end of the room during a coffee break or something like that, tea break, excuse me. And, then you say they are talking over there, etc. That's the way it felt or sounded. At any rate, and I thought with this, I did a 10-year thing with studying parapsychology, reading 500 books, research monographs, etc., case history stuff. And I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, well.
Never mind.
But what's that?
Never mind.
Yeah, right. That's what I get with, oh, well, it's gone with the wind. Oh.
Oh, yeah, we're saying
Yes.
talking
Yeah,
about
he brought up.
certification.
I wasn't going there then, but that we were talking about that out there, yeah. And I said, you come up, we'll talk about it together. About 5 or 6 years ago, people were saying, do you have a course leading to a certificate of, expertise in provocative therapy? I said, no. Well, are you thinking of, making a course like that? I said, no. And then, well, why not? And stuff like this. And I said, because Charlie Truex, he said, Dr. Charles B. Truex, he did a lot of research. He was part of the Client Center Group. He headed up the Rogers research project, et cetera. And Carl came to, I don't know if I told you, he came to me once in my office, kind of just almost fainted or something, but he said, Charlie the best. I was his best man, godfather of his first child, and all the kind of, and he said, what do you think would, how do you think he would feel if I asked him to be the head of the project, the whole project? And I said, I don't think how he feels, Carl, if you want to know, I don't think that's the primary consideration. The primary consideration is, can he handle it? And said, all right, you want to start there? I said, I think he can handle it better than anybody you got. And he said, yeah. I said, how he feels about that, is, I think, secondary. And if he does a good job, fine. Then he gets promoted or a salary increase or what. And if he doesn't, out. And that's, I said, friendship is friendship and business is business. And so he said, how do you think you'd feel? But I said, I think he pays attention to you and what? I don't think I know. He's told me repeatedly. Much more than you know. And Charlie is, total independence and complete autonomy, et cetera, et cetera. But, like all of us around here and, in your entourage, I said, we just live for crumbs that drop from your I didn't quite put it that way, but that's what, that's what Jesus said. Even the dogs under the table get little scraps, et cetera. So I said, if you wrote and told him that you had confidence in his ability and et cetera, and wanted him, I think you'd take it. He's finishing up his doctorate down in Iowa. So he did, and then Charlie did, and then we did, but he said, okay, this is the thing. We were talking about this certification. What does it mean, for if you get a PhD or an MD or MSW in clinical social work. The MSW in clinical work is like it's like the diplôme psychologie in Europe. It's a master's degree thing. But and quantitatively, in terms of counseling, psychotherapy, et cetera, social workers do most of it. there have been internecine strifes about this kind of thing. Who was charged over this? And the psychiatry tried to make everything, all talking about any kind of anxiety or depression or familial conflict or existential, angst, etc. That is medicine. And therefore, the psychiatrist, doctors should be ahead of that, dispensing the right prescriptions and all this stuff. And we're not even talking any pharmaceuticals or pharmaceuticals. Talking about just so there was then the psychologists, they were mostly men in America, they just went bang and head to head and big fight, and the psychologists took them to court. There was a group for the advancement of psychiatry which purported to be terribly scientific. This is back in the 50s. It wasn't scientific, it was an out and out this psychiatrists, friends of mine and others admitted this. It's an out-and-out political action committee, kind of thing. It was beating the drums for psychiatrists, who feel very secondary to regular medicine. It's hierarchies clashing in the night, going bump. And but at any rate, the judge went in and gave a very funny disquisition in his ruling and said, if we were to say that all words of advice were psychiatry and therefore part of medicine, then we would have to admit that the following groups are practicing medicine without a license: all mothers and some fathers, and and then not to mention older or brothers and sisters. So I had mom and dad and 11 brothers and sisters, doing readouts on my behavior at all times. I mean, talk about scrutiny. If you remember the Farrelly, mob, I should not say this. My sisters would kill me if they, and that isn't just an expression. Where's the nearest knife, if you so much as farted, which you shouldn't do at the table, did they, It wasn't just manners, although that was stress and stuff. But at any rate, Charlie was saying you can't, the judge said, you just threw it out of court. All talking is not medicine. All advice giving is not medicine. All urging, cajoling, pleading, encouraging is not medicine. It just started going down these lists of. And finally, I think the group for the advancement of psychiatry disbanded. They said, we're not going to get anywhere because once there's a precedent, this is an English law, right? Once there's a precedent, we got it from you. No, we took it from you. This was, the revolution, if you remember. At any rate.
I wasn't there at the time.
No, you weren't even a twinkle in your daddy's eye. Yeah. Charlie said you cannot certify competence in psychotherapy. And you can't say, but I'm a psychiatrist or I'm a psychologist, and therefore I am more competent than, say, social workers or psychiatric nurses and stuff. In Florida, this was some years ago, I think it's, hasn't changed, that very excellent reports. Who did all the outpatient follow-up and stuff, and not just, monitoring medications and stuff, for patients from the mental hospitals discharged back to the community. Psychiatric nurses, bang, that was it. They had the organization, they had the personnel, they were gifted, trained, experienced, kind of the Visiting Nurses Association. They were doing, having seminars and workshops, et cetera, about, training for them. And it really worked well. So, different strokes for different folks in different places, Then along comes, they wanted to get a training course for a year or something like that in provocative therapy, and lots of exercises and da-da-da. And they talked about it with me, and I said, well, yeah, it's excellent. Then they wanted to get a certificate, and I said, yeah, well, all right. But it was a certificate of competence, not a certificate of attendance, which that was my mistake. I don't think so, because I always quote Charlie on this thing. But in effect, a medical, an MD, he says, well, I mean, what does it say? It says, so-and-so has successfully completed all the course requirements for a degree in, doctor of medicine, or a PhD for, clinical psychologist, and clinical practicum and stuff. And the same thing for, master in social work, et cetera. So it attests, says that, yeah, you've completed, with passing grades, the course requirements and, pass the examinations and stuff like that. But that doesn't make you a, all-star therapist, for example, if you're narrowing it down to that kind of thing. It doesn't. And so how do you do that? There's so much art. There's science and the art of psychotherapy that's based on behavioral sciences and stuff a lot, but it's also an art form, and there's no art, there's no manual how to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling. And I said there isn't any evidence that it's going to happen either. Now, can we have set up a training course for XYZ, KLM? Yeah, for a lot of different things, mechanics and stuff. A lot of hands-on, performance type of things. You can do it. And I think I could do it for surgery, too. So I stay with a German surgeon, friend of mine, and his wife, whom I met first. She came to my workshops, and she was star resident in surgery for something like 3 years. She had a year and a half to go, and then she just said, I don't want this. It wasn't that she couldn't do it. I mean, she could do it, and she was excellent at this. But she said, I want a family, I want children, I want a home, instead of, working 24/9 each week, Heidi Huber. What a gal. Boy, you'd like her. I told you the other day, she says, it's so easy doing provocative therapy. I just get my pictures and start describing them to the client. The client starts laughing, then I'm laughing at her laughter, and then thinking of some other, it just flows, just comes. It's like you're talking to a friend of yours and stuff. You don't compose your responses. You may say, just a minute, now what did she say? I'm trying to remember, I can't, okay, it was something about, we were talking about that type of composition, okay. But, you're not composing responses, so that's deflecting, to quell any criticism in advance, usually not from your talking with your friends. It's just kind of spontaneous and just reactive. A lot of it's reactive. What did you talk about? Oh, let's see. What was it? Boy, we really enjoyed, last Thursday night. Well, what did you talk about? Well, I don't know, talking about the hour change coming up. Spring forward, fall back. That's what they say in the States. It's an easy way to remember how to set your clock. And then we were talking about the, football pool or whatever the hell. They can't remember. I mean, it's just trivial, something. It isn't a world-shaking kind of thing. Profound import. Nah. when friends get together, it's just blah, 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 you know. It's just being together and enjoying each other's company. Because it's so profound? No. Because it's so superficial. You're getting warmer, you know. Well, this kind of thing. It's just giggles and beers, you know, or whatever the hell, you know. So the question is, well, they wanted to do this thing, and they wanted to give a certificate, except this certification kind of transmogrified into nobody else can do provocative therapy without they go through our certification program. Noni Hefner in Munich, who's been with provocative therapy, she discovered it through me in 1985. She went through the fucking roof with this, and she's been a leader in this much longer than some of these other folks, you know. And she said, well, Frank, you're not going to be able to do provocative therapy either. I mean, this is insane, nutsy, okay? So I said, well, do I have to ask permission from that? You know, so I told, they said, no, we'll grandfather you in. Well, fuck you and the horse you came in on. You know, I'm not, who asked you? I don't want to hear your goddamn grandfather this. And if that failed to persuade, I'll fly home and get my Glock and come back. I bought this Glock. I gave to our son Timothy in Flagstaff, Arizona, all my guns. I had only 8 or something, but at any rate, a nice little collection, old guy's collection. At any rate, and then I was feeling sort of gunless, you know, for about a year and a half, and then I started feeling a little kind of nude in regard to weaponry. So I'm talking to Timothy, and he said, get a Glock. I said, I got one. He said, dynamite, you know, it'll blow anybody away, you know, something like that. I said, okay. He had been escorting murderers and stuff like that around in a locked pen in back of the SUV, you know, from Flagstaff down to Tucson or Phoenix or something like that, you know, over the mountain passes, you know, with these guys. At any rate, and then my buddy Dean Schneck was out on the West Coast, and now I was out in Alaska, in Homer, Alaska. It's on this, you know, this string of islands that go out there. It's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, no water or whatever. Just they're on the same time zone as Hawaii, which is, it's not the, you know, West Coast, the left coast, as we say. At any rate, La La Land, that's California. Yeah. When I first did a thing in California, I said, well, you know what, well, here I am in California. I never thought I'd be here. You know what the rest of the United States says about you all, says about California. If you tilted the entire United States, everything loose would fall into California. And my, my organizer said, what do you mean it would, Frank? It already has. Look around you, you know. But Dean Schneck said, get it. I said, do you have one? He said, yeah, I got 2 of them. One's a, you know, just for plinking, a 9mm, and then I got a 357 Magnum one, so it'll just blow a hole in the, you know, Abrams tank kind of thing. Yeah. Just how would you like to be sawn in half with one bullet? I used to hand load for my guns, and they had hollow points, you know, and stuff like that. And boy, what they do, they go in with a little penetrating hole, and then they just shatter and explode like shrapnel and just blow, I mean, turn everything inside into jello, you know, runny jello. It's really, well, it just provokes respect. What the hell, I was talking about this, that down in Gresgen, up on the mountain in Gresgen, southwest Germany, where I've been going there for 10 years now. And one of them just shook her head, one of the participants said, Frank, you are just terrible. I mean, just terrible. I said, yeah, and it's fun. It's more fun that way, actually. Gives you a broader freedom of expression, you know, rather than have to, Jesus. I feel like Huckleberry Finn in a case like this, you know, where he got the widow Dawson, said she was going to civilize him, so she scrubbed him down, and then she bought new clothes and a suit and a tie and a high collar and stuff, and then taught him his prayers. Take your elbows off the table, Huckleberry. Fold your hands, Huckleberry. Bow your head, Huckleberry. Repeat after me, Huckleberry. He just said he just got so civilized, he almost felt like he was choking, you know. Well, so like most guys, they have to kind of just rip out. I mean, you know, their mothers, their sisters, their aunts, their girlfriends will start, Jesus, you know. So they do. They let her rip, potato chip, you know, as the fourth graders say. Boys. Where the hell's I? That's the beauty of being 75. You don't have to get to a point. It doesn't have to mean anything. People think, wow, existential or surreal. They start making them, you know, boy, Dali-esque. Oh, okay, what's that mean? It doesn't make any sense. But we're paying him anyhow. You know, I mean, where else can you get work like this? Just hang on till you're 75 with your fingernails, you know, and then, God damn it, I tell you. I knew when I was a little boy, older is better. Well, all my older brothers and sisters, because they could tell us what to do, but then when my aunts and uncles came out, and all my uncles were bald. Well, this is on my mother's side, that's all I got. And they just talk about a lot of weird stuff, and you know. Oh, John, how's the family? They'd be standing, you know, next to the fireplace, toasting their rear ends next to the fireplace, and you'd say, well, I know, the law doesn't allow you to shoot them. He would say with a distinct note of regret, and when I was 6, I could say, he's sorry. And then I thought, God, and everybody laughed, you know. I mean, aunts and uncles really laughed at some weird stuff, you know. We wish we could kill our kids, but there's a law somewhere, nobody knows where, that prevents us.
When we were in Henley, one of the things we talked about was there were a lot of people there who'd done a lot of NLP, hypnotherapy, that really just wanted to try and put provocative therapy into that box, and it's funny to see that they just couldn't do it. Rather than just start to notice it's a very different way of working.
Yeah. In Nelson, New Zealand, there are some NLPers there. And said, could we spend an hour just talking to you about your internal processes? Right? This is right before lunch. I said, well, yeah, if it's okay with the rest of the group. Yeah, they thought that'd be interesting. So after lunch, we came back and we talked about this. And I don't know about my internal processes. Sometimes I kind of wonder, I think, this is supposed to be, this is like wandering through some whatever, either the heights or the depths of some. Then this famous saying said, you are a sensitive and you receive impressions and, well, I don't know. He said, even as a small child, you did this. Well, I had they said very active imagination or something like that. But I would, as soon as somebody would mention somebody's name, then I would start getting pictures about colored pictures. None of this. Life is infinite shade of gray. What a crock of shit that is, you know. But at any rate, that's from Colorless Minds with any rate. And I heard somebody when I was 42 say, boy, I dreamed in color last night. I thought, doesn't everybody? You know, no, they don't apparently. But any rate, I always thought in pictures and heard sounds and everything like this. And so some of the thing, and he suggested some of the pictures, not every last single one, and that's from, God on high, the Trinity. No. But maybe my spirit guides or my mind or whatever. There's a different kind of paradigm that goes so far beyond our, model of the mind, of the human person. And it's that, like, we're Jadrell Banks we're searching for, all of our minds are open like this. They're sending and receiving radio stations, kinds of things. And Jadrell Banks has searched for SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Yeah, and that our minds are open and not just, during sleep a lot of times. So if you ever kind of getting a lot of mental clutter, or you see one guy or one gal or this, that, and the other thing, you can just turn it off. This is this DVD from Gresgand where I was teaching this woman to just turn it off. And I said, don't turn it this way. That's increasing the volume. You want to turn it off and just go click. Well, she said, I don't want to put my hand up to my side of my head. It just seems so stupid. Well, I said, but you've been stupidly hearing this stuff for God knows how long. Which would you rather be? Just look a little stupid or continue to think stupidly for another 17 years or so? And she said, well, yeah, I wanted to stop. I said, okay, then all you have to do is just be a little motorically stupid. Well, you could sort of pretend just kind of fix your hair, like that. She said, oh, yeah, I could do that. I thought, what is this? Is this supposed to be important or something? It was important to her. We got it on DVD, or VDs. We got it on VDs. How do you certify this? And then this stuff of lock me in, There's an old country western song. Give me land, lots of land, 'neath the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. But it seems to be just a natural trait of the human mind and psyche that we just, if we get an idea, bang, it's mine. Boom, I'm going to patent it. See? So they try to do it with talking, The American Psychiatric Association, that went over like a buffalo turd in a punch bowl. And then they tried to do it. I felt kind of flattered when somebody wanted to, kind of corral provocative therapy, make it theirs. Nobody could do it unless, and I could see myself, going there with my application. Can I please do it? Who are you? My name is Frank Farrelly. What? I said, Frank Farrelly. What? Begging to be allowed to do this thing. God, but Noni's is much more realistic. It's like, kill, let's start. And you don't think it's going to work until what? Just don't bother with it or something. You wrote me a couple of emails and and in your own, I don't know, inimitable way, skip that phrase. So just, anyway, you were kind of eloquent in your simplicity of just saying, in essence, fuck this idea or something. But you don't say he's a gentleman, he doesn't. Better dig those things up and then just post this.
Sure.
We were talking about doing this in the next couple of days.
We were going to write it literally in stone. Mm-hmm. That was one idea.
Yeah, carve it in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want this. I want this one. That's another thing to do. Oops, I dropped it. I tell you, 75 really makes macht frei. Yeah. Arbeit macht frei. They had over the concentration camp. Work makes freedom. The fuck it does. Work makes soap, and that's you. But at any rate, people ought to. This thing is so. What? It's like a smorgasbord or something like that. It's provocative therapy borrows from so many different, theoretical, psychosocial, probability theory. It borrows from behavior. One behavior therapist said, I can see why provocative therapy is so successful. He listened to a couple of tapes. Well, he was in a workshop, and I said, why? Tell me. Ryan or something, his name was. He said, because you're doing behavioral rehearsal all the time, Frank. I said, I am? He said, yeah, what you call precognitive scenarios, and then you paint these future pictures, and some of them are so disastrous. I mean, the client had just said, oh, God, no. Do you ever think of that? Yes, I do, but nightmares, and I'm painting them luridly. Any rate, behavioral rehearsal, at a Temple University psychiatry department where there were 450 psychoanalysts and psychoanalytically oriented psychiatrists and psychoanalytically oriented psychologists and stuff there. And so I did a couple of, what was his name? John somebody. It was this psychiatrist on the faculty there, and he called me. He was sort of my babysitter, so he called me and said, you wanted to do some live interviews, unrehearsed from the audience. I said, exactly. And he said, well, what if nobody comes up? I said, John, they always come up. He said, yeah, but what if they don't, Frank? I said, don't worry about it. They will. I guarantee it, And he said, well, would you mind bringing some videotapes along so in case nobody comes up? I said, no, I used to do that, but now it's just fly, Superman. Just launch yourself off and fly. Halfway down the Empire State Building, wow, so far so good. So he was sweating bullets. He said, yeah, but everything is so dependent on this thing. I said, right, that's the way I like it. And he said, oh, my God. I said, well, so when he met me, he said, did you bring some videotapes? I said, no. He said, I thought you'd change your mind. I said, I didn't. And he said, God, this is awful risky, Frank. I said, yes. But it gives me a zest, little kind of churns up a little energy, adrenaline pumping in there. So at any rate, I was doing this thing, and what was it? The first, I forget what the first, I remember the second. Maybe it was the first guy, I forget what the hell. But it was this lawyer who came out. And he was working, he had 2 marriages and working on his 3rd divorce. And I looked at him and burst out laughing. I said, what do you know about the care and feeding of women? Well, he said, I provided for them, home, and clothing, and food. And so I said, you're not getting it. I'm not talking about that. That's a kind of given. But do you know to, whisper sweet nothings in their ears, which is soul food for a girl, and so they say, oh, Harvey, that's when you know that you're really feeding them, and taking care of them and stuff like that. And wow, you didn't know that. He said, I don't know what women. I said, what do you know what women want? He said, I don't know. I said, neither did Freud. And these are all Freudians out there. I said, all my life, I've never been able to discover what women want, I said, I have studied this in depth, and I know what they want. He said, what? I said, what? And 3-time loser, and want me to just give you the answer that kings and, presidents and chancellors and scientists and the Saint Siggy of Vienna himself wanted to find, and he couldn't, and I'm supposed to just hand it to you? No. And he said, well, what do I have to do to, for you to tell me? I said, I haven't even begun to think that far in advance and stuff like that. So he said, Frank, I'd really deeply appreciate it. And I swear to God, I'll memorize it. I'll never forget it. And I'll use it correctly. I mean, he was just, really I said, well, he said, oh, come on. He said, this is really upsetting, my third divorce. I'm starting to feel like a loser. I said, starting? You should have been feeling that, 3 marriages ago, I said, all right, it's me, foolishly compassionate Irish heart that's going to do this now, but I shouldn't be. Jesus said, don't cast your pearls in front of swine. Well, a pig like you, I feel I'm doing this, but all right, here goes. So I said, now are you listening? He said, yes. And then he's kind of on point, And I said, and we're going to remember this. He said, yes. I said, I don't know. I think it's so simple that you're going to say, oh, what? That's nothing. I already knew that, And then I think, wasted. I shouldn't have told him. I said, I've even narrowed this down to one word so idiots like you can easily remember it. He said, I'll remember. I said, oh, well, all right. What every woman wants, and I put my hand on his arm and said, is more. and he did more? He said, more what? I said, exactly. Yeah. I don't know how you certify that, See, it's the art component. Kind of people say, well, it's intuitive. I mean, that's another big wastebasket term. When you don't know what the hell it is, just call it intuitive. If you can't follow what the hell the person does, they do it so damn quickly or something like that, you say, he's gifted. Gifted means, fuck, I can never do that quickly. Yeah, and then if they babble about what's the etiology of this, then you say, it's my unconscious. This is what Milton Erickson said. It's my unconscious. Give me a break. I mean, that is the biggest wastebasket, a theoretical wastebasket invented in the 21st century. 20th century? 20th, yeah, right. Yeah. We were in Vienna, I was, and one of my Viennese colleagues was Bernard Ludwig. He said, do you know what this area is? And I said, no. He said, it's the home area of a very famous person. I said, oh? He said, yes. See that across the street there? Yeah, I see it across the street. The lighting isn't very good. He said, well, it's number 19 or something like that. I said, so, big deal, 19, whatever the hell. He said, that's Sigmund Freud's office. It's a national kind of museum, monument, a little smaller. I said, oh, St. Siggy of Vienna. He said, would you like to go inside? I said, no. Not interested. I mean, my hat's off to the lad for struggling, and he was a pioneer, but he didn't videotape. They didn't have videotapes then, right? And this is why, so the many pioneers are constricted by their time and place and what they have available to them and stuff like that. Yeah. The big zeitgeist then, the spirit of the time, was archaeology. I mean, people were fascinated by this stuff. They'd be reading their morning paper and found archaeologists feel they're close to discovering the ruins of ancient Troy. The Iliad and the Odyssey are just about to be proven or something, And by God, they did discover Troy. And wow! And then the Christians, civilization, they're digging down, and now but we have to dig deeper. And this is what, all archaeologists have to do. They got to dig deeper. What do psychoanalysts talk about? Dig deeper. We got to dig deeper. And they literally see this as almost just literal facts. In order to truly understand this client, we have to go dig deeper and deeper and go back in time. Give me a fucking break. I mean, that's inappropriate analogizing, okay? I mean, every analogy, limps, they say. And I know I've used some that are crawling on all fours. But I know it's an analogy, and I never, reified this. You have an ego, super ego, and an it. 3. The sacred trinity for psychoanalysis. At Philadelphia with all these psychoanalysts, I liked them. To my amazement, I found that they were very receptive. They laughed like hell, and da-da-da. And one of them said, I said, I was numbered, it wasn't just mommy and daddy and me. It was mommy and daddy and 8 kids, and then me, and then 3 more kids after me. So I was lost in a mob. And this thing of, well, every child thinks that it's adopted. I said, never did I think my parents were this stupid. In 1931, at the depth of the Depression, we need another boy around here. And they're going, fuck, are you kidding me? Forget it. And then number 2, they say, well, every child forms an Oedipal complex. And so I said, not me. I was standing too far back in line. Number 8. I want to fuck mommy too. Shut up and take your turn. I never said that, but I never said that before. I didn't. My sisters could hear me. I'm dead meat, but luckily my sisters won't be able to hear me. Then, oh yeah, they said, how do you account for all these imagery? Some people are always kind of, where the hell? I trained this one gal in provocative therapy, and bang, she got it very, very quickly. And she was able to do it. It was just sort of a, I don't know, what do you call it, cybernetic loop or something like that. She'd see some, bloom, she's got the responses, descriptions, hypothetical, whatevers, And so she went back east. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, which is the heart of the Midwest, 150 miles northwest of Chicago. Any rate, she went back east, and she called me in a couple of weeks. I said, how's it going? She said, Frank, you wouldn't believe it. I'm just using provocative therapy, just kind of sort of adapting, adjusting. I'm not making everybody into a client or patient, but I'm just sort of using it in different situations. I said, well, good, just practice, what the hell? And she said, yeah, last Saturday night, this guy is a lawyer from Harvard, which is the best that America can do. We don't have Oxford and Cambridge, so it's sort of a poor man's Oxford and Cambridge. Harvard has got the heaviest endowment of any university on this planet. I don't know how many billions they've got. Large, 157 billion, something idiotic like this. And anyway, she said she went out with this guy, and they went to a very posh restaurant and stuff. And she's, being polite. She said, I was being polite, and I was listening to him. And she said, I am going to collapse out of this chair under the table with absolute, total boredom. I'm going to go into a coma from boredom. So I just thought, provocative therapy time. And so she started winging it. Whatever you'd say, she'd have these bizarre associations and stuff. And this guy's got, so it took him a little while to stop. But then he looks at her forehead and said, oh, that's scary. Who lives in there? Yay, one for our side, Fuck boredom, You know, how many women have been tempted to say, getting sick and tired of saying, oh, and what did you tell the committee then, George? I don't give a fuck, George, about the committee, and I don't give a damn about the minutes or even the issue that you said this no-name committee. It's got a name. I forget it. Well, guys aren't as good. They don't extend as much energy, my research shows, into listening to women. You know, it's a little difficult sitting on the edge of your chair, maintaining good eye contact, and saying, and what could you explain the difference between a dusty rose and a dusty periwinkle violet? I don't understand. Guys saying, where did the fuck they come up with all these words for me? Girls. They've got armies of girls back there. Okay, we're going to call this. No, this has 10 cycles per second, or, per millisecond more than, so we'll call this fast Dusty Rose, whatever. Did you ever think, I know, why the hell am I sitting here listening to her? She's not saying anything. Now she's repeating the nothings that she said before. I mean, not that I remember but there was some content that's starting to sound familiar. And usually they say, Pamela, can't we do it first and then talk later? No. Because all you do is go to sleep and snore, George. Guys saying, Jesus Christ almighty, what a guy has to listen to in order to get some pussy. His buddy says, who listens? All you have to do is pretend to listen. Look, then think of your next beer. I think, and then you can sort of pretend to be, interested and, leaning forward is that real, you get a lot of points for that. And then eye contact, and then an occasional you throw in a, And she thinks, well, all right, maybe I stated it too strongly. And I think, I don't know what the hell she stated too strong. You say, oh yeah? So a little, and then to really convince them that you're listening, say, I'm not so sure about that, Well, what do you think? Well, guess what you think might be some of my objections. Well, you probably think Dusty Rose is not a charming guy. You got it on the first try. God forgive me for these lies, but they work. So man learns. I have coached guys how to lie and pretend to pay attention, and assorted aperiodic and amazing. A woman thinks this man really knows how to carry on a conversation. You don't even have to talk. She's doing all the talking. And you can get pussy faster. Now, but this is what guys want. You have 3 ways. Yes, I do. 3 tricks. This is what they like. No more than 3. Their minds can't quite tolerate them. Anytime she says, George, we have to talk about our relationship, you think, huh? What? I didn't know we had a relationship. Don't say that. Yes, I'd be very much interested in that, Pamela. God, her tits look like they're all smothered. I don't know, what is she binding her tits now or something? I thought they were bigger last Saturday night. I merely report what's going on. Yeah, well, at any rate, how do you certify that, We can do this and just whack it out and then, send a copy to, Jaap Hollander and Jeffrey. Jeffrey Weinberger, he's writing for this huge paper. It's the largest paper in Holland. It's got a circulation of 1.6 million or something like that per day or something. And then he's on radio and and then he writes for this magazine and stuff like that. And he said, I just do it a la provocative therapy. It's so much easier. God, he said it takes me 1/10 of the time that I used to have to kind of grind it out and then, now just bang, out it comes. Yeah. Well, okay, bang, out it comes. Let's go get some tea.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.